What's going on, friends? Derek Lambert here. You ever feel like you're a bit overwhelmed? You got so much going on all at once. Oftentimes, it might be small things, but you add them up, you get, 20 or 30 things going at once, and you kind of go, wow, taking on a lot. Kind of how I feel right now, which is why I'm actually wanting to do this live to go through some of the things. In fact, I could do a video response to particular details on this, or I could just type up a little thing and give it to you guys in the community tab. And rather than doing all of that, this is my way of being able to just kind of knock all the birds out with one stone and to, go to you. It's my way of kind of therapy in a way, but also to express what we're facing, the things we're doing, visions and hopes of what we have here at MythVision, and also picking some of these problems and critiques and things that happen all the time. I'm very glad that you're tuning in because you can participate in helping in alleviating some of the problems that we face. I've been from day one very transparent. I want to create a community. I don't tell people how to run their show. I don't tell people who they can and cannot talk to. It's just never been in my nature. But I say that to say I have wanted to use my platform for good and betterment to help a community of YouTubers online. Some people may not have the same spunk or may not have the same attention. They don't grab the same attention from people on the internet. So what you do is you want to help your community grow and create that dialogue. Since we've evolved together, we need to stick together and have each other's backs. That doesn't mean stick together to be rude. We want to try and have a common ethic that we hold to. But I want to address some things that I think are important. There's some really big YouTubers out there, and some of them are my dear friends. How they use their platform, no judgment, saying up front, but they're not using it to grow kind of a community and sharing stuff to make other channels grow. Not as far as I can tell. And so I'm trying to do that. Now, the more you connect yourself with other people, rather than being divorced from being too closely connected, the more difficult things can be. Because you have more heads, more mouths, more words, more people who have a say in the matters and such. So it's very difficult when you have a tight-knit group and things go south or things aren't going as you planned. That's why we have to learn to try and empathize with each other and do the best we can and come together. Am I preaching to anybody out there? Hallelujah. Amen. I say that because I need your help. And what do I need your help with? Well, look, I'm the number one guy to want to share things to community tab, to want to get attention, to try and help the community. And one of those things is I'm one man. I'm just one guy. I've got a queen in heaven upstairs, call upstairs heaven, who is trying to do our taxes. She's trying to help us with our courses. She's doing so much. And we've got all sorts of comments that are starting to come in. It's an influx. A lot of it is trollish. Other comments are just people who are being negative, things like that. If you see it, feel free to comment. Feel free to defend or even give your 2 cents. The positive comments aren't getting enough attention too. Sometimes people who are dropping those good comments that I don't have the time to either respond to or even go through and check off hearts because I'm so busy working. Drop them a comment. If you have the time and energy, go in the comment section and create the community that we want and pat each other on the back, right? Show love to each other that hey, we care and we appreciate you showing up in the chat and stuff. I'm doing my best. I'm behind on catching up on messages from Patreon. That's how, much stuff I've got going on. So this is the first thing I wanted to open up. I want to first let me see who's in the chat here. Just to give everybody a shout out and say hey to you. Logan Fisher, William, James Apperson, Decades, Vegetative Stay, good to see you all. Azo, Melody Joy, good to see you. I think Ryan's talking to you, Melody, and trying to figure out something. Pragmatic Crystal, good to see you in the chat. Mimi, I'm going to say Mimi because that's what they call, my sons call their mom's mom, so their grandmother. Bob Smith in the house. Rian. I think it's Rian. But anyway, go subscribe to her YouTube channel. I posted that also in the chat up at the top. And I want to get her story, XJW. So Show some love to the community and please subscribe. T-Rex, Christina, thank you for being here. Oscar, Nitty, AF, Drunken Philosopher. Good to see you here. Carol's in the house. Showing you all some love real quick here before I ramble on into other stuff. Rachel. Society of Hypocrites. This is true. Problems are parcel of life. That's fact. But, you don't have to deal with them by yourself. You don't have to. You can do this as a group. You're going to have your issues. It is what it is. But if we have a common goal, then I think we should have empathy and find ways to make things work. And you got to be able to go to people when you have problems, make mistakes, whatever. Kevin Maxwell in the house, in the Hizzy Indo. Good to see you, Western Spy, Joe, Alan, Trigger Warning, Chad, Shane, Frankie, Thorsten, SS in the Hizzy. Who else do we have? Erica, David Muller. Welcome, everybody. All right, look, I'm scrolling down. I'm pretty much caught up. Oh, Dragons of Genesis. Can't forget. JRR token. Good to see. And thank you, JRR, for having my back all the time in the comments. I see it. Me and my wife are reading it, and I'm worn out sometimes at the end of the day, and I'll be reading it, and she really appreciates you to put it out there. But I don't think my words can convey how much we appreciate the people who are always in defense, or even giving the person, not even attacking, just giving the person some data to think about. So here's some of the problems I'm facing, right? I'm a one-man army. There's all sorts of that. That will never end. I cannot, if I had a machine where I could clone myself, 3 of me in this basement, I would still not be able to accomplish what I have on my computer. I've got a 2 terabyte hard drive with multiple courses. I'm also planning to take a traveling trip to do some editing. So listen, I've accepted my fate. My fate is I will be buried, not 6 feet under. I will be buried in videos. So if I ever croak, just so you know, like everybody try to contact my wife somehow and say, I know Derek's got some stuff like hidden and tucked away. We need all that material. Mrs. Lambert, can you get it out there? Just a heads up. All right. Let's get into a couple of these. Some of these are minor, some of them maybe more, and then you can help bring some. I'd love to hear from you, your thoughts. If you have any questions, criticisms, you have something you want to address, feel free to super chat it. I'll be happy to highlight and address those issues along the way. They help us, of course, keep the lights on. But the first thing is, did you see yesterday's debate? If you saw yesterday's debate, press 1. Typing it out. Let me know if you saw the full Preterist debate yesterday, or at least tuned into some of it. Amy's Derek's archives would be something phenomenal to behold. Listen, I don't even know what my archives have. That's how phenomenal they are. There's so much there that sometimes when I edit videos that I've done, I'll listen to it after I was there recording it and going, oh my gosh, I didn't even catch that when I first recorded it. And then when I'm editing it, I'm being blown away, and it's like an epiphany, and I'm having to really go through the learning phase all over again because something I missed, something I didn't catch is there. So a lot of you did tune in. Some of you may not have seen it. There was a full Preterist debate that happened yesterday. In fact, let me give you a sneak peek here. This was actually the debate here, just to show everybody. Don K. Preston is the gentleman in the upper left. Mark Smith is in the upper right. Mark Smith has a similar ontology to me today, but Don K. Preston was the gentleman who actually influenced me initially to become a full preterist. I think he did a great job yesterday in the debate, but if I got to poke a few holes into what he said real quick, and then poke a few holes over here into Mark, and then maybe one day I'll have a conversation with Don myself, and we can rabbit trail from there. I'm not a debater, but I will have conversation. I feel it's a lot less dick measuring contest involved. There is less concern over who's right and wrong as much. It's really just how can we pick up and learn from each other as much as we can, even if we disagree. But Don pretty much made everything metaphorical, allegorical, God coming on the clouds, the resurrection. I mean, you name it. Final judgment is the only thing that he didn't make metaphorical, because he was saying that's literally what happened to the temple in 70 AD, which is kind of odd that there's a physical literal there, but everything else is kind of spiritualized. For me, it just felt like if we took his interpretation that God is just kind of almost the thoughts like, oh, look, Babylon just got their butt handed to them. That was Yahweh, but it's really humans that are doing the deeds. Then it's almost like you're just attributing what's happening in the world around you to this invisible thing you've never seen. But when you write about it, you say, he came on the clouds with trumpets blown and flames of fire and all this and that. Exaggerative metaphorical language about something that you haven't seen and you have no evidence of, and you're just saying, well, my God actually did that, but I haven't seen him do it, and there's no evidence that he did do it other than, well, real wars happen between men, and this country destroyed that country. That's how I felt about it at the end of the day. I felt like Mark had him on the Acts chapter 1, even though the go-to Greek passage is where Jesus says, oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how often I would have gathered you like a hen gathers her chicks, like. So this means when Jesus is going to come back in like manner, he doesn't mean it literally. It could be kind of a metaphor or some little phrase that isn't literal, that Jesus isn't going to come back actually. Which means it grants him the opportunity to say, it happened in 70 AD. The one problem I saw was Mark Smith's point on not addressing the Old Testament. He kind of forfeited it. And here's why. To me, I understood it. The problem is, because I know the mindset of those on the other side, they think you just forfeited the whole war. What I would have said if I were Mark is, first of all, there are academics, number one, and there are these are the top academics on Paul's studies. This is one of the scholars. Let me see right here. Did Paul misuse scripture? Christopher D. Stanley, who's dug into this. Also, James Tabor does this. Paul's misuse of the Hebrew Bible. All you need to do is go through one verse after another in the New Testament, and you will see how the New Testament authors, it's a big word. You ready for this? Recontextualized, to put that in dumb terms for people like me. They are quoting it and then making it mean what they want it to mean. It does not carry the context of its original use. We see this same problem with the Hebrew Bible that quotes earlier Hebrew Bible. So sometimes when the Hebrew Bible quotes something and referencing earlier text, they don't even mean what they're referencing. And when you get to the New Testament, it's even worse. For a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and his name will be, or everlasting Father. You've heard the passages that go from Isaiah 53 and et cetera, et cetera. Go to those original contexts. They have nothing to do with the context of the New Testament and its usage. So what I would have said is, I don't care if you say he's referencing this and he's referencing that, because there's so much recontextualizing going on in the New Testament that you're assuming that this means what it's quoting, or it literally pulls that same context to the New Testament. It doesn't. That's what I would have said instead of gone, I wouldn't have been interested at all. Who cares what the Old Testament says? That kind of gives them, in their minds, a win. And so all you need to do is just know the New Testament, those scholars, those authors, those texts are liberal. Yeah, that's right. Go to a fundamentalist. They're not fans of this whole idea, but they are reusing New Testament or the Old Testament, Hebrew scriptures, really the LXX, because we have no direct quotes from a Hebrew version of the Bible. The only Bible they knew was Greek. So they have the LXX they're quoting, and they're not even using it in its original context. That's the point I'm trying to get at. So, and he quotes from Isaiah 53, and he's quoting from this and this and this and this and this. It doesn't mean what it meant here. What they're using it for is something different. And a whole nother bag of worms that I know that full preterists want to do is they want to Hebraize. They want to make them within the Hebrew mindset, right? This is what they do. Within the Hebrew mindset, this is what they would have thought. And we're talking about Greek literature, people who are in the diaspora out among, like way out in the world, in the Roman world, who were well acquainted with the Greek customs of the world, who were Hellenized through and through. And we're supposed to assume that they mean what Isaiah means, as if they're literally thinking like Isaiah or in some Hebrew mindset. That is bad hermeneutics. So hermeneutics gets thrown around a lot by preterists. And so I wanted to address that. Now, anyone have anything they want to say about the full preterist thing? Because that was my shindig for a minute. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. I'm scrolling up here because when I get going, I might miss. Okay, Dr. Tabor's in the chat. This is what I love. As one who works closely with you, deep breaths, just keep up the good work, and Ryan as well. I cannot praise you all enough for all you do and have done. Your work is important. James, I love you, man. I really do. I appreciate that. I think I am more busy than you are. But hey, we are pressing on for truth, justice, and love. James, thank you so much for tuning in, Dr. Tabor. I respect you. I honor what you teach me, and I appreciate your friendship too, and joining here in the chat just to give me that. Dr. Tabor, actually, I want to give a little sneak peek of the whole full preterist connection here. I had not even met Dr. Tabor. I don't even know if he knew of me. I've never asked him this, but he had a student who's a friend of mine. His name's Ryan. I won't give his last name in case he doesn't want that. He was full preterist, and he went and was a student of Dr. Tabor and went to do his dissertation, I think, in the vein of this whole fulfilled eschatology stuff. And I suspect he did a good job, but he needed to do some tweaks. And Dr. Tabor, actually, I was introduced to him by Ryan. So Ryan, if you're watching, man, thanks a lot for the introduction. And Ryan wrote me last night, Dr. Tabor, and he said, yeah, you should have got an academic to deal with the textual stuff and be able to go into the Greek of the debate that happened yesterday. Maybe I will. But thank you so much for showing up. I really appreciate it, James. We've got more stuff coming up, of course, some courses in May. Pat Lowinger in the hizzy. Good to see you here, Pat. I'm a masturbator. Oh, I caught that. I get what you're saying. Let's see. So where are we at? I consider Derek one of my students, and he is honest, open-minded, kind, and smart. I cheer him on. Thank you, James. I try to be. I know that I have a bias, but who doesn't? I try to be as honest, though, in assessing this, even if I do have axe to grind, right? Scrolling down, I'd rather deal with the Australian Jesus, someone said. He's so passive aggressive, and he was trying to like psychoanalyze and all sorts of stuff. It was just really weird. So I like emailed him and his wife, Mary Magdalene, and I was just like, I'm not having it. What is your worldview? What is your mission? Are you a pagan or Abrahamic? Could you clarify, please? Seeker Skeptic. Well, I like the name that you have here, Seeker Skeptic. So I would just say I have a naturalist worldview. And my mission is to try and give people more information they can make their own mind up without bringing an apologetic, but bringing critical thinking across the board using historical methodology. My main thing, this is getting into another problem we have that I literally want to address, that I'm constantly seeing, and I might as well show you actually. Here we are. Underneath my horrible audio, forgive me up front. I'll explain what happened here. The video I did today, the novel fiction of Luke Acts, the audio sucks, but the content's gold. Okay, with Dennis. It really, 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 it really sucks, the audio. And the reason why is somehow when I had my mic set up and I turn it to him, I think the cable was loose. So I had to use the audio directly from my DSLR camera, which picks up the whole room. And it's got the echo. I've got a fridge down here, so it's picking up all that audio. This microphone that I have, that I usually use, blocks all that out, and it sounds like this. This is how it sounds. Sounds really good. But I got screwed on the audio, and I couldn't tell during the recording that it wasn't right. So I had to go with the echoey room stuff. If someone was interested in like putting this through their own little processing machine to up the ante on this audio, please feel free to. But at the bottom of the comment section, I'm only highlighting this because I get this all the time. Here we go. What's this guy's obsession with Christianity? Here we go. Scrolling up. Where's it at? Something about why aren't you going after Islam? Okay, fiction, bro. Are you anti-Semitic? And I don't even know why that. I don't know how thinking acts is fiction would make one anti-Semitic. If anything, you could see how anti-Jewish acts is. The Jews get blamed at every turn. So no wonder there's actual historical events, 4th century and on. I know there's one in the 4th century where the Christians attacked Jewish villages because they were Christ killers. And this happened throughout history. So no, if anything, the text has perpetrated or caused Christians to hate Jews because it blames Jews, even if it meant only Jews at that time and place. They're reading this document like it's written for them and their time. That's another problem, is this is a living document to them. So it has relevance today. The other one is simply, why are you always after Christianity? Why don't you go after Islam and Judaism and poke holes at them? So let me come back to me full screen here and explain. Number one, I know Christianity far better than I know the others. I was a Christian for most of my adult life, and I was raised in a Christian home. So number one is that. Number two is I don't face on a daily basis Muslims who go to mosque and are voting and are knocking on doors and like maybe if I lived in Michigan where there are mostly Muslims in certain areas, maybe that would be more of an issue. Don't know. But it's not a day-to-day thing that I engage with and that I have to deal with. My family isn't trapped in the condemnation of heaven and hell, specifically hell, because of Islam or Judaism. So there's personal reason why this particular worldview and this particular religion has more impact and why I address it mainly. However, for anyone who ever drops those comments, they haven't watched what I've done pertaining to Hebrew scriptures, showing God as a physical anthropomorphized ancient Near Eastern deity, the cruelty and bad stuff that we find within the Hebrew scriptures. These are just scribes writing the stuff, saying God said. But nonetheless, the perception is that this is the God portrayed. And of course, I point that out. Now, I don't go through rabbinic literature, haven't done that yet to poke holes or see anything that's wrong. But I also don't have Jews that have created issues for me. I also was never a practicing Jew other than being born circumcised, and my family did that, but I was a Christian, born into a Christian household. The other thing is I have done critical stuff on Islam. And so for those who ever make that comment, they just haven't watched my stuff. So they're making a comment out of ignorance, or they're triggered. Because I do Christian stuff, they're triggered and they're like, yo, why do you keep coming at my worldview, homie? Chill out. Why are you doing this? And so that is another thing I think happens. I see it a lot lately, and it may be that my channel's getting a lot more attention lately. So these people are coming in and they haven't seen the stuff on Islam. I do stuff almost every day about Christianity, and it's been far and in between since I've done it on Islam, if that makes sense. Now, I'll tell you why that is as well. I'm not as learned when it comes to Islam. Early sources, the Quran, the Hadith, the history behind this. I'm certain I'll have plenty to talk about the more I learn with it. I think they also think I do it because I'm afraid, which I'm not afraid. Really not. But where I'm at in the world, like they're a minority. And in fact, they're treated differently. They're perceived differently because they're Muslim. Or if you're a Jew, they're already a minority in the world at large, period. So there's a lot of reason I'm also careful ethically in the way that I approach this. Christians can be in power. And if you're poking holes at their religion, they feel persecuted. Not all, okay? I'm not speaking to every Christian. If you're triggered, you need to look in the mirror and check yourself out. But Christians who are in power, when you are criticizing and showing holes or problems, they have confessed openly in my chat that they're feeling persecuted, or in comment sections, you're persecuting me. Why are you doing this? As if they aren't like a majority in America. It's kind of odd to me. So that is something I wanted to address. Scrolling down here to catch up here. We need more cowbell, Gur said. Yeah, you're right. Rion, thank you so much. Hit the like button, 305 of you who are watching. We're going to get to another problem here in just a minute. But I figure addressing those was very important. A lot of people I've noticed also expect me to like, why don't you get on all of these other Christian apologists? First of all, I have emailed some in the past, but it's almost like they don't know what kind of channel this is. This channel is interested in historical methodology, and we want to be critical. We want to look at mythology, legend, things like that. If your scholar is not highlighting legend in the Gospels, or they're assuming there is none, there's no myth, there's no legend, I'm probably not interested in interviewing your scholars, because they're really going to say, this is special. My literature is not touched by this. And you're saying it is. Well, I've got the list goes on. I mean, we've got a CV sheet with hundreds of names, and these academics point out, yes, legend, yes, myth, yes, contradictions, yes, problems, yes, we have issues here and here and here and here. This channel's never been all right, this week we're just going to listen to the apologist, or I'm going to interview apologists to give their point of view, and then I'm going to get the skeptical, critical side, a point of view. No, we are critical. We are a skeptic channel. And I have several Christians who aren't apologetic or aren't fundamentalist who appreciate that. They don't agree with my conclusions, ontologically speaking. And that's cool. But they appreciate the historical research and what's being brought to the table. That's another problem. So I figured I'd bring that up. I actually typed out my notes and I said, your bias. Yes, I am, if that's what you're wondering. So there you go. I heard this one earlier today, and then I'm gonna go to the chat after this. I just wanted to get mine out. It's the full preterist thing, and there's so much involved in that would just be a show in itself. Christianity, why are you doing that? Not Islam and Judaism. Dude, I plan on doing all of them. I plan on getting into Hinduism. I plan on addressing various cults. But I also am one-man army, and I'm very thorough in what I'm doing right now with the things I'm doing. We just begun, baby. This is the beginning of MythVision. This is not the tail end. This is the very birthing of MythVision. In fact, I'm calling it that. We just started, so don't worry. We're going to get there. But someone said earlier, and this is something that addresses the recent controversy with me and other apologists online, and that is, listen, so what if they're looking like they're using Jewish sources, Septuagint, or pagan stories to formulate their stuff? It doesn't mean what they're writing didn't happen. That could be the case. However, a lot of this stuff is very miraculous in nature. And when you go back to some of the sources, like the video that I launched today, if you haven't watched it with Dennis, Paul is a new Dionysus. And he shows when Paul's in prison and that prison break comes, that angel comes and sets him free with an earthquake and all that kind of stuff that happens in Acts. In Euripides Bacchae, Dionysus gets imprisoned as well. Guess who gets freed from that prison? Dionysus. He gets freed out because he has a power. He's a god. He's what looks like a man. He's a demigod, born of a mortal woman. Of course, Zeus is his actual father. And then I think his mother dies, and Zeus, in some of the narratives, I think it's Euripides, but he's put in his father's thigh near his bosom, and he births him. So he's actually brought forward by Zeus. But like, they don't recognize his divinity, and the whole time he's like overcoming things as a god. And so this seems kind of odd. You think this one with Paul actually happened, but the narrative structure looks like it's from Euripides Bacchae. Paul even quotes it. It's hard to kick against the goads. That is a lifted verse out of Euripides Bacchae, which is 400 or 500 years before Acts of the Apostles. So why wouldn't we say, hey, the author is clever, creating literary imagination about their heroes? Who are their heroes? Paul, Peter, Jesus, the other apostles, Barnabas, etc. Like, those are their heroes. This is a novel. It's fan fiction. So a guy wrote me on Messenger and then wrote me on a post named Joe, and I won't mention his last name. But Joe actually said, no, you don't get it. This is the thumbprint. Even if it's borrowing from pagan and Jewish sources, this is the thumbprint of the divine. So he wanted to like say, your presupposition, Derek, on naturalist worldview is impacting your conclusion on how you're addressing this literature. And I'm sure in some way, all of our worldviews impact the way we address this literature. But I was like, actually, I'm saying when you became a studied Greek author who wrote in Greek, not only did you know those stories, but you would learn how to do what we're seeing. It didn't have to be the Gospels. It doesn't have to be Acts. Any literature of the time practices these types of things that we see in this literature. You look at this literature and go, divine. I look at this literature and go, clever author. Great. He knows the earlier sources. He's creating his own version of earlier sources into his current context, using verisimilitude to some degree, but also imagination. And so I'm looking at it going, cool. Just like I would read any non-Christian literature and say, yeah, that's not divine. That didn't require gods or a god to do that. That was the human who was well-trained in writing, who knew these narratives and wrote it. It's like the same thing where Christians go, man, look at how many prophecies get fulfilled in the Gospels. I used to think that way. Like 300 and something prophecies are fulfilled in the Gospels. And then you go, so you're telling me they couldn't have read that material and wrote this cleverly creative narrative using that literature? Like, you act like they couldn't write this as if this is a fulfillment. And that's a lot less harder to swallow than assuming all the baggage that comes with this is divine and this is really the case. This is what really happened and yada, yada, yada. They're reading this material because you could see it even in non-canonical material that Christians don't accept as divine, doing the same stuff. But what do they do? Is that God helping them? But you don't accept that canon. You don't accept that material. Those are heretics that are doing that. Why don't you accept them? Unless you accept all of that material. But do you draw the line at Christian, then getting to the pagans and go, no, God didn't help those ones? I'm just saying, I think the more we learn, the wider our net is spread, the more obvious what I'm saying becomes. Because we're not just focusing with special goggles on this material. That's the whole point. And that's the problem. Now, has everyone had enough fun listening to me rant? I'm sorry if I've put you to sleep, but there are probably hundreds of other things that go on. And keep in mind, I got a lot of life, real life. My children, I just took my son to the dentist today, had a deep cleaning, picking my kid up from school. I'm always doing, the daddy things and the husband things, and I'm also trying to do this. So thank you for listening to me, being there so that I can have people to just let it off. I really do think confession, I know this is going to sound funny, but having people to go to and to confess or drop your burdens on, right? There's something good about that. And it's therapeutic. So the church might have had something cool going on until they gave like one guy all the authority kind of thing. That practice of being able to speak to your friends and like give them your burdens and stuff and open up about your shortcomings or even the difficulties you're dealing with helps. It's very therapeutic. That's why you go to a therapist. And usually they're sitting there like they did with me when I went and saw a medical professional one. years back because I was going through a tough time in my life. The lady was sweet. She had her legs crossed and she had her pen and paper on her lap and she just listened. And I cried. It was tough times in my life. But she finally started asking questions and getting me to think about things. And it was really, really good. So this is therapy for me today. Thank you so much. You can send me an invoice for having to listen to my headache. And thank you so much. Really. Azo says, how much did you pay Tabor to say that, Derek? Not now. Not now, please. Okay? Not now. Moving on. Nothing to see here. Anyway, obviously Tabor's a buddy of mine, so he's just saying it just because. What he really thinks, he's not going to say. Just kidding. Mr. David Reeds, thank you for the super chat. I didn't even see that there were super chats up, so I hope I didn't miss any. I remember that fundamentalist mindset so well. Me too. And that's the thing. It's tough. There's a tug of war with this because part of me wants to go, why don't you see it? Why don't you see it? But if I was speaking to me 10 and 12 years ago, I wouldn't have just seen it. It was a process. There was a process that took place. Gradually, I was able to let go and not be so uptight about being right or even the fear of hell or various other psychological things that I would say played a role in me believing the way I did and holding on to this stuff the way I did. You can't just get people to see it. And if they do, wow, their experience is a little different than mine. But I think what I'm saying is we need to try to have more patience for them as well. So don't be rude in the comments when people are being that way. If you're wanting to help us here at MythVision and drop comments and stuff, actually try, if you have the time and energy, try addressing what they're saying, giving them the facts. Now, if they're rude and they're trollish, don't respond. And if they're over the top, I have it set up where YouTube automatically, like if it's a really derogatory term or whatever they do, it'll automatically keep that comment from coming up. So when people go, you took the comment down. No, if you put a URL in your comment, it's automatically probably going to take it down. If you were being derogatory, YouTube is probably going to take it down. I don't have to do it, but sometimes things slip through the cracks. And so, yeah, I ask that Mr. David Reeds, what it's like. And if we know what it's like, then we should also try to be patient the best we can and hoping that people who are in that kind of mindset will come to see it or agree to disagree, etc. Scrolling down, Hidden Gnosis. Great name, by the way. Neil might be jealous if he sees this name. I'm going to hide it from him. Derek, the amount of content you produce is unbelievable. It takes me a week to make one video half as good as the 7 you put out in one day. It's inspiring, and thank you, bro. Wow. Seriously, I really appreciate that. Means a lot. I do have a really good camera. I'll give you guys behind the scenes here. It's going to get a bit blurry, so I'm going to turn on my autofocus. In fact, that's where I usually sit when I'm doing my little individual photos or my videos. This is the camera. I have a teleprompter now, so I can have academics help me script some good stuff out. So we can bring you not my opinions, but academic thought whenever I do some of that. But behind there is a Canon T7i. And that camera is a very, very expensive but amazing camera. So the quality of the camera and getting used to doing it, it's like riding a bicycle on my editing. You get used to it. You do get used to it. And after a while, it gets easier to do it, harder because it becomes repetitive. And that's the hard thing about pushing oneself. Get your coffee in the morning. What am I aiming at? What are my goals today? What am I trying to accomplish? I try my best. And sometimes I'll forget things because I'm overwhelmed doing other things. Like I'm currently editing Kip Davis's course, which will be the next course we launch. The Real Ancient Israelite Religion. He goes into everything. Human sacrifice, polytheism, God having a body, everything. The laws we see in there. Really, this religion we're reading about in the Hebrew scriptures is not the religion of Israel. It is the religion of a very small minority of elite priest type figures. And if they aren't priests, they're still elite members of society, educated elite members of society with their own little cult that is not the common cult. And then many academics think Josiah came in, right? And he ends up reforming and pretty much killing a bunch of priests who aren't doing his government of Israel or Judea approved religion. Yahwism. You need to worship Yahweh only, and that was not the common thing. So be on the lookout. Hopefully I don't croak over before getting these videos done. After that one, Hidden Gnosis, I've got 2 courses with Robin Faith Walsh. Oh, that's one more thing. This is another problem. I've got to address this. Whew, getting warm. This jacket right here is kicking my butt. This is another problem I'm facing. I have courses we sell. These courses help the academics, right? They also help the academics want to come to the YouTube world. All the great scholars that we have, I'm trying to do a course with any and all of them as much as I can. But here's the headache. You get those people who constantly go, quit soliciting, quit it with the promotion. We either want it or we don't. I have to be a shameless plug because if I want these scholars to come back, they need to see that this is where they need to put their time and energy and not just sitting behind ivory towers. I call the academic institutions ivory towers. They can just write material and get it peer reviewed and publish it in academic presses and live in their ivory towers. I don't want that. And I know that the majority of people who watch MythVision don't want that. How do we get them out of their ivory towers to the common people? How do we get the religion of ancient Israel, to use Kip Davis's course as an analogy, for everyone to follow? You can't have them just sitting there at the top. They got to come and they got to get their hands dirty and they've got to come out here and make it popular, more public. That's my job. So when you put me down, you only drive me to do it even more. But I want you to know, so if you, the viewer, who's loving what I'm saying and is supportive of what we're doing, you see the comment, feel free, so that I don't have to address it, or just keep moving on. Because I'm just going to ignore them from now on, but I figure I'd address it publicly. We have courses. These scholars have books. It is what it is. They don't, their life isn't a voluntary, we just give all of our time for free. And so because I have a large platform, rather than having to pay an arm and a leg for people's time, oftentimes I'll leverage selling courses for the academics to get their work out there or their books. Keeping it 100 with you. Might as well. Because that's the only way to keep this kind of stuff coming to the internet world on YouTube so that you can talk to them yourselves. That reminded me. That's why I wanted to do that. Hidden Gnosis, you rock. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. When are we discussing the priority of Mark versus Matthew? Faith because of reason. I assume this is David Palaman. I assume. I'm guessing. Sorry, I wanted to make sure I had your name right. I need to wrap my head around and get Mark, obviously Mark Goodacre's work, specifically trying to address this and other Mark and priority stuff. But I would like to be prepared for that conversation, not a debate, but a conversation with you, and be able to come and bring the arguments, having my head freshly wrapped around them, because that's the best thing we can do. But I would love to do that maybe sometime this year if I have the time. You can see how overwhelmed I am with everything I am doing. So maybe we do it even if I'm not fully prepared, because it'll be interesting to hear your take. I know that you think Matthew came first, but then you think Luke was next, then Mark, I believe, and then John. I suspect you had a particular position I recall seeing, but maybe sometime later this year. Scrolling down. Hit the like button while you're at it, please, friends. I really do appreciate it. Oh, snap. Okay. StreamYard just did something new, and I did not even realize it today. There's a spot I can go to that I can see the super chats without it being mingled in with the rest of the chat. That's new. literally brand new. And I was getting really good at being able to find them throughout all the chat. Now I know how to find them without all that headache. Crawford Fulton King, really hope you manage to get some more videos with Jonathan M.S. Pierce. Guess who I wrote the other day? Jonathan M.S. Pierce. Be tough given all he's doing on his politics channel, ATP Geo on YouTube. Love to all the MythVision crew. Crawford, thank you so much for the support. I get a lot of compliments. He's so well articulate at what he's saying, and being the guy who's in the philosophy. I'd love to get him on. And David Palaman, actually, he's one of the Christians on the Facebook side. We probably disagree as far as, I don't know, fruit is from meat in terms of food. But he's read. It might be cool to have him either debate or have a discussion, philosophically speaking, with Jonathan, because both of them are like philosophy nerds. They love getting into philosophy, and they have totally different worldviews. It would be interesting to see that kind of conversation, but I do want to have him on. He just became an affiliate of what we're doing at MVP courses, and Jonathan's a cool guy. So thank you for the support, Crawford. I really appreciate it. Blake says, what are your thoughts on the Dalai Lama controversy where he asked a boy to suck his tongue? It doesn't even sound right saying that. Does it change your view on Buddhism, religion in general? I'm not going to judge a whole. I mean, I haven't even looked into it. I heard about it, never even watched anything thoroughly on it. So forgive my ignorance. I don't want to pretend like I know what happened, other than I heard, hey, the dude said, suck my tongue to a little kid or something. And I'm not going to judge the whole world. For example, I won't judge the entire Church of Catholicism on the fact that some priests have committed certain acts. Now, I would probably judge the methods in which they're doing. Like, why are these priests doing this to little boys? That more often than not, it's boys. Why is that? And so there is something I can probably judge the way the church operates, but I also have to compartmentalize. So I haven't actually dug into what happened there. But in terms of religion, how are we defining this and what is meant here? I wouldn't blame Buddha or Buddhist because this weird guy says, suck my tongue to a kid. Unless somehow in their doctrines, which is why I kind of do, I'm trying not to be generalizing of the Catholic Church when I say the fact that they tell priests they like not to have sex and stuff, or have had that as one of their kind of protocols, one of their, you need to be celibate, that's going to cause some problems. So unless there's something in Buddhism that I don't know about that like somehow makes someone tell a kid to suck their tongue, I don't know. There were some horrible popes in history who've done like all sorts of cruel stuff. And then there were some you might look at and go, they tried their best and they were much better popes. Dalai Lama, I think it's the same Dalai Lama that was around when I saw he was getting bit on camera by a mosquito. He shooed the mosquito away. It flew off. The mosquito comes back during the interview. He shoos it off. And then the mosquito comes back for the third time and he smacks the Joker and kills it. And the interviewer goes, you just killed the mosquito. What the heck was that about? Puts the mic up to him and he's like, strike 3, you're out. You get 3 chances and then that's it. He didn't learn his lesson. So I guess they have a limitation on what they're willing to put up with before they take life. Blake, great question. Might be worth doing a video on at some point, but I might need to get someone who actually knows more about it, who's an expert on Buddhism and maybe knows a lot more about the situation than me to come and address it. Topic discuss Gary. Dude, I still got to edit your videos. Please don't kill me. So Gary was ex-Mormon. He was in a pretty high position within the Mormon church in his local area in Utah. And we talk about Mormonism and man, like the biggest walk away is polygamy. Like that's the biggest walk away from our discussions personally. Joseph Smith was a horn dog, and he wanted God, or he wanted to find justification in Scripture to validate his sexual desires. That's pretty much like the biggest takeaway with all of that. Gary, thank you so much, man, for that love. That's a huge super chat, and being a member, supporting me, and always being in the chat. You're going to come back up here again. You know that. Like, this is not the only time. He came to stay with me for a few days. So, good friend of mine. Oh, go subscribe to his YouTube channel, too. I mean, I don't know if he's putting out material lately, but please do. Mr. David Reeds is back. This channel has been so eye-opening since I left the Pentecostal church I was born into. We were told not to be curious, and I can see why. I was definitely told to stick to certain kind of literature. I'm impressed by some of the Christians who don't, who actually read beyond. The fact that they're reading beyond, I'm just really proud of people who do that kind of stuff. But I was told, hey, read this, read Amillennialism, a case by Kim Riddle. I can't remember her name. Read this by R.C. Sproul. Read this, avoid that other crazy stuff. But I was heading in the apologetic route. I was a student of Thomas McCuddy, who was actually a student of who's the major Christian apologist that he taught Ravi Zacharias, the guy I'm trying to think of. I can't even think. My head is mush because of everything going on. Anyway, long story short, I would have had to really learn more from the other side so that I could take their arguments down. And that was the drive that I had, right? Was let me show why my side is true. It wasn't, I'm literally reading this material to just, see if they're actually right and follow their conclusions. I already had that experience with Jesus. I already had the truth. Now I need to look at the other side to show how it's wrong. That was kind of where I was. And as long as I was within my kosher bounds, what was kosher, and I'm using the word kosher meaning right and okay, as long as I kept it within orthodoxy, as long as I kept it there, I was good. Eventually, I went outside of orthodoxy with full preterism, and the rest of the story. Robert Herring in the house. Man, I haven't seen you in a minute, Robert. I'm mingled in. Thank you so much for showing up, my friend. Rum Runner. Thank you for the super chat. Are you familiar with Dr. Sam Vaknin? He's a psychology PhD who contends that based on his behavior in the Gospels, if Jesus was real, he probably had narcissistic personality disorder. I've never heard of this. I've never heard of this guy's work, but can you email me? Because I will forget this. I'll send an email out. I'll be happy to interview someone to hear something like that. But I could imagine if it's all about, him, why someone might think that. Do me a favor, please email me. Let me post. I hope this shows up. MythVision podcast at gmail.com. Isn't that it? Yeah. MythVision podcast at gmail.com. Here we go. Okay. Please email me. I leave it down in the description as well, but that might make for an interesting conversation. Just getting what Rum Runner's saying, because that most of us on this channel think Jesus probably didn't say a lot of things we see that are said of him in the Gospels. Maybe some of that stuff goes back. John Kloppenborg talks about some things that seem kind of odd if they didn't go back to Jesus, but we couldn't prove any of them actually did. Can't prove that some of them didn't. But we make a guess. But if he did say the things that are all said about him in the Gospels, I could imagine someone seeing that and saying, that's pretty wow, what does one think of oneself? The comeback I can imagine a Christian saying is, yeah, but what if he really is that? And therefore it's not narcissistic. It's just the truth. There's always wiggle room, right? Always. Rum Runner, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Erica E, thank you for that. Let me check in the live chat to see if you had a question, comment pertaining to your sticker here. I'm scrolling down in the live chat. There's so many people here chatting. I seriously appreciate you all. Hit the like button while I'm looking for Erica's sticker, because I've been in the super chat section missing out on the chat. I'm mingled in, found you. Okay, Erica, there you are. Erica, just showing love. Thank you. Thank you, Erica. Appreciate it. Oh, look who's in here. Toby, a singer in the hizzy. Good to see Toby. Toby, I get so much hate, man. I get so much hate for being a friend of yours. Hope you know I love you, man. I'm saying it publicly. Saw him in Jerusalem when we were over there in the Holy Land. Haters be damned. Whatever. I'm friends with a Jewish guy. How about that? That makes me a bootlicker. I don't even know the nonsense that people say. Love you, Rabbi. I hope you're doing well over there. And I know that there's all sorts of stuff always happening, but I hope things are calming down. We're trying to put a tour together. It's not in stone yet, but we might be making it out there next fall sometime. So maybe if people who sign up can bump into you while we're in Jerusalem. Might make for an interesting interview or conversation. Most of the people who sign up might be critical, skeptical. I don't know. I honestly, depends on who wants to sign up. There are no requirements of what you need to believe or don't believe in order to make the trip. But yeah, we'll see how that one plays out. Rum Runner, disclaimer. The Dalai Lama is the head of one small sect of Buddhism. I'm a Zen Buddhist, and we look at him the way Pentecostals look at the Pope. Okay. So I'm glad you gave me the disclaimer, and you could see why I'm cautious on making any judgment, because I've done that before. And sometimes I'm guilty of making generalizations with my words, even though I don't mean that for all. And turns out that I get people coming back, hey, man, I was a little bit offended by that. I know you didn't mean it toward me, but don't put me in that category with that. I try. Rum Runner, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. I got to look into it. And maybe you have some sources when you can email me on that super chat earlier about the Dalai Lama doing that. Maybe you know some people who can look further into what the heck is this guy talking about suck my tongue for? Let me just be frank. Forget the whole, does Buddhism have anything to do with it? Telling a kid, like, I don't care if it's your own kid. I don't care if it's someone else's kid. I just don't care. Anyone, I don't give a shit, tells you to suck their tongue, something's wrong. I'd be checking that guy's mental health. I'd be like, yo, we need to do some background check on this person, making sure like no other kids are sucking his tongue. Like, what else is going on? Know what I'm saying? Pretty freaking weird. So addressing that, like, that's weird. Period. I don't care. Thank you so much. Dan Johnson, appreciate that, Dan Johnson. It seems that it's 420 where you're at. Dan's taking a chill pill, I guess. Look, Toby says, we trying to bring Derek to the synagogue. Shh. I hope you're doing well again, my friend. And everybody showing some love here. James Apperson, again, member in here. Black Line Supreme. All of you in here, thank you. Please hit the like button while you're here. Let the YouTube gods know that we exist. Michael Gamirkin's in the hizzy. Good to see you, Michael. I got to link up with your dad again. Toby is, it's 4 a.m. almost. Get some sleep, my friend. Get some sleep. You don't live far from me, Michael. I'm up in Pasco, about 3.5 hours from you guys. And I know your mother's health isn't the best. I was talking to Russell about coming down and recording with him in person to get into his Greek connections and stuff. But yeah, I hope that we can make something like that happen sometime. Let's hope. Mott in the house. Best wishes. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. That's all you had to say? You didn't have anything else? You don't need me to suck your tongue? Are you sure about that? Thank you, man. Really appreciate the support. Mott, I think, means death. And so double death. Thank you. Appreciate your love and support in the house tonight. Grand Prairie Paranormal Research and Investigation. What a long name. Thank you for that super chat. Hey, bro, I'm a parapsychologist and paranormal investigator. Wanted to say I love your channel. I love what you do. Keep it up, too. Wow. Man, we're reaching some people in the house here. Grand Prairie, thank you. I mean, we're really getting some attention, for real. That's also one of the headaches. I'm like, hold on, look at these comments. Man, there's some triggered people in the comment section. I'm over here going, what the heck? I could use help, myth visionaries. Help me out and duplicate other me's down in the chat. And if you see people in the chat, the comment section is what I'm talking about, in the videos that's giving positive things or you agree with them, like it, drop a comment showing love. Because at some point, you'll probably meet up with them again in another live chat in the community. And this is bonding for you. This is bonding. Trust me, the day might come when you need them, when you need somebody. And who's going to be there to listen, you know? So these are wise words. Wise words probably handed to me at some point in my life. Crawford Fulton King, another thought for a guest would be Robert Reed of Gin and Truth. I'd be happy to look into Robert Reed. Robert Reed, Gin and Truth. I suspect that's a YouTube channel. All right, minimizing my ridiculous notes. Going to open up a YouTube channel here. Rian, her YouTube's in here too. For being here early, showing love. There's again. Go to Rian. I think it's Ryan. Not 100% sure. Forgive me. We will get that figured out. Coltastic YouTube channel. Now let's see. Gin and Truth. Gin and Truth. Oh, I'm already subscribed. Oh, I know this guy. He's been over at Jay, two-time PhD biologist, Jay Bundy. So he's played over there and he's been on his YouTube channel. Yeah, I'd love to have a conversation with him. For sure. Thank you, Crawford. I really appreciate the love. Seriously appreciate it. Look at the love here. Look at the love. Love in the chat. Like Lion. Okay, thank you for helping me. I appreciate it. Ryan. I think so. Uncle Bobby. Uncle Bobby's the dude. Thank you so much for that. Okay, I'm going to do something I don't usually do. And I'm only taking one person at a time. And I have only a certain amount of time. So I'm going to put the link in the chat. And so please come on. Let's make it brief because other people are obviously going to be in line. And then I'm going to go because I could smell dinner cooking. But I figure why not let you pop on just to say hey for a second. And then I'll wrap things up. How's that sound? All right. One second. Bear with me, my friends. All right. Sorry, I'm going to take you one at a time here. And then we'll wrap things up. I just needed to vent. That's what this, here's me venting. All right. First person, James. What's up, James?
Hey there, Derek, and everybody else. I just wanted to say hi real quick. I won't take long. Sometimes we all need to vent and get it out of our system. And I got to say that the experience that I've had in this community with MythVision and associated channels has been a really wonderful experience for me. I've met many wonderful people, had many wonderful conversations leading to great discovery and personal growth. And, I can't say enough about MythVision and the part that it plays in our lives. So thank you so much for that, Derek.
Thank you, James. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
He's got a YouTube channel. You're going to do a book channel now, you said?
Yeah, so I'm switching my focus to the book channel. So just tell me what you want me to read when you want me to read it. I'm going to dive in. It's not going to be commentary. It's just going to be reading. We're not going to stop and bring people in and discuss the book unless you want to. At times we can, right? But the format, whenever you're not there, is just I'm just going to read the book.
Got it. Cool, man. Okay. Well,
awesome.
Yeah, there's plenty to read out there, of course, and we're always promoting books and talking about the works of academics and stuff. So if you're ever interested in doing one of those, yeah, sounds good.
All right, man.
Thanks, brother. Bye, James.
Bye.
Awesome. James is awesome. Gotta love him. He's always rooting and cheering on MythVision. I really appreciate it. Masood.
Hey, Derek, how are you?
Hey, how's it going, man?
I'm doing well. I've been really haunting you.
Have you?
Yeah, like sending messages, lots of messages.
Where do you send the messages at?
Twitter and even on the chat right now.
Okay.
So I'm sorry if I've really bugged you with my messages, but I'm just. It's like I see you've got a lot of energy, and I really appreciate it, and I kind of see myself in you doing the same thing, but obviously I don't have the approach to people. For the fact that I've in the past 10 years I've been really putting up a lot of writing that I've been doing, and yeah, I mean, I just can't wait to engage with you and to be able to talk to you about all of these sort of things. And I don't know, why do you hesitate about Islam? I mean, you've been bashing Christianity left and right.
Why
24/7. You've been bashing Christianity, but
no. But you said before
to
that,
do the same thing
I
with Islam.
Hesitate about Islam?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I don't hesitate about Islam.
But
I don't have as much material right now on Islam. But have you seen some of my critical stuff on Islam in the past?
I have seen a few videos that
not just ex-Muslim material, like actual academic work.
I think I've seen a couple of shows, I suppose, with some people about Islam. But a lot of what you've done on Islam is obviously with Muslim ex-Muslim kind of people.
Not just that. I'd say I've done about just as much with ex-Muslims as I have with academics on Islam from a critical perspective.
Yeah,
but I'll tell you, here's
seen
the problem with
academics,
the field, Masood. The problem is there aren't that many that are actually willing to come on and talk critical historical method and stuff. And even the ones that I'm like, listen, I am not interested in getting you in trouble with the Muslim community, but there are tons. And I'm telling you from experience in communicating with some of these academics. I've had Stephen J. Shoemaker on. He's a Western academic. He lives not too far from where I'm at, actually. And I plan on doing some interviews with him later this year.
I've seen that.
He has expressed to me that when he publishes a book that's critical, that doesn't go with the standard narrative, academics, not just the layperson, not just the fundamentalist, academics over on the other side of the world and in the West come at him and are like, who do you think? Like, they get so much ridicule. It's worse than Christianity. So my problem isn't I'm avoiding it. I want to speak to experts that aren't trying to push, oh, this is true and here's why. I'm not interested in that because there's plenty of that out there in the world. I want to see who are the scholars who are coming on saying, we've got holes in this and this is a problem, or here is the using historical methodology. Here's the human origins for these types of things. That's my goal. And there aren't tons of academics out there that are willing to do it, which is why you see so many Christian apologists attack Islam. They can't get in.
Derek, I've been punched in the mosque. Okay.
Really?
I'm not a part of the Muslim community. I don't attend the mosques. It's been 5 years now. I'm not going to the mosque. My little kid, the last one, has never been to a mosque. He's 5-year-old right now. Okay.
Right.
I mean, I was part of the mosque. I mean, I was leading prayers in the mosque in Adelaide, for example. But things got really bitter, and there were anti-terrorism experts showing at my door, trying to come and investigate me about it.
Sorry about that.
I have put up a lot with my own Muslim community, and there was a point that I decided this is not the way to go forward, because it was hampering my own work that I was doing. All right, so I called it a day, and I quit being part of the Muslim community. And to be honest, me and my wife both got blocked on Adelaide Muslims Facebook group. Okay, just because I posted some of my books on on the page, on the group. So I'm one of those guys who has taken Muslims head on, their cultural baggage. I don't hesitate to say that I'm not part of that community. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
am
Well,
I
look,
a Muslim?
Masood,
Yes, of course, man.
Masood,
Yeah,
I've got
sure. Go
two
ahead.
more
Yeah,
people and I've
right.
got to hurry up. But listen,
Yeah,
I promise you, I have no problems with investigating from a scholarly standpoint
that's
on
right.
Islam. I just know Christianity, and I have so many scholars who know Christianity. I try to not come up with my own opinions without bouncing it through the academic kind of grinder. And
Why
so
don't you
that's
consider me as an academic? I've written 3 different books, and I'm doing this
well,
translation of the Holy
I
Quran.
know what
Yeah,
your books are, though. I actually,
yeah,
you did the debate. You're
yeah.
more taking an approach, though, that is trying to favor rather than poking holes to see if it falls apart. And so I'm interested in more of the scientific method, which is not, let me try to see if this is true, to do my best to try and find a way to go, hey, I can try and make this the reality. The Quran is directly from God, or it's the word of God, or it's predicted and prophesied and it knows the future. Those are claims. I'm more interested in saying, is that really what it's saying? Let me see what scholars are poking holes say about that. So I'm taking a bias approach, historical methodology, to see if
I mean, you're
the
most welcome to
problems.
do that. You're most welcome to do that. And that's the approach I kind of followed when I was in debates with the atheistic community here in Adelaide.
Mhm.
And the outcome of those many years of debates have been my books. Okay, I mean, I'm not a person, a Muslim that you see quite often going and proselytizing,
Right.
telling Islam is the truth, Islam is the truth, Islam is the truth, because it is the truth. I'm not doing that. I'm saying, I mean, I'm interested to find a fault in the Quran. If somebody helps me find a fault in the Quran, that'll save my day. Because why do I need to put up with this? Why can't I
Well,
just be a
here,
wine paper? You know what I mean? Why should
yeah,
I
I
be?
hear you. I hear
Yeah.
you. Let me just say this, and then I do need to let you go because I've got others
Right.
in the chat that I have to pull up, and we will
Okay.
talk in the future for sure.
Okay.
Several people who've
Right.
made those statements in the Christian world,
Right.
when you go to show them the problems,
Yeah.
those aren't problems. And so they
Right.
find ways, no matter what, to
Yeah.
wiggle out of it. And so
Mhm.
I can't, I don't know your brain. I don't know what you might do, but I imagine if I brought anything to you, if you're based on your discussion with Hanny that time, I
Yeah.
imagine you wouldn't find a problem with it. And no matter what, you probably start with there really are no problems in the Quran. So if you already start with there are no problems with the Quran, you're probably going to conclude that. Even if I show you, hey, I think this is mythology or this is legend or that probably didn't happen historically or whatever it might be. And so maybe we can talk about that down the road at some point if you're interested.
Yeah. Sure. Definitely.
Okay. Thank
Definitely. Yeah.
you, Masood.
No worries. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You have a good one, my friend.
All right. Bye.
All right. All right, let me address these super chats real quick. We're going to get Chris M next here. Dr. Cheryl, thank you for being in the chat. Many say they love MythVision. Let's all be promoters and spread these videos wide and far. Euroclea, right? Thank you, Dr. Cheryl. Seriously, that's the best way to get it out there. Word of mouth. Let's make this thing grow and keep the community growing. So my encouragement to Masood, if you're still watching, my friend, start a YouTube channel, create a community, grow a community that has your values, that supports what you do. Even if there's minor disagreements, I encourage you to do it, especially if you're trying to change the world for a better instead of radicalizing it and stuff. Becky Morton, hi, guy, ex-UNCC religious studies grad here. Keep up the work. I love seeing people who are educated, who are like giving praise to what we do. Think about it. How would you feel if an academic shows up in your chat and is like, keep up the good work. I'm loving what you're bringing. I'm learning. Like there are scholars, because oftentimes the scholars aren't reading each other. That happens a lot. It just does. Sometimes they're outside of what they like, but they could sit down at night with a cold brew or a wine or whatever, water, if you're an alcoholic like me or whatever, and enjoy a show, listening to colleagues and going, wow, I never really took the chance to listen to what they said. That was actually quite interesting. I might tweak my own hypothesis. Becky, thank you so much. Appreciate that. TW, thank you for that super chat. I didn't see a comment, just showing love. Thank you. And then Imnag with the super sticker. Thank you so much, Imnag. Really appreciate the love. Always showing up at the right time, almost like right before the end of time. You always show up. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Chris, welcome to MythVision, my friend.
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I gotta be quick. I was just wondering, Derek, if you have like a follow up question. I've actually asked you through Gather on Bunny's chant. Well, Bunny's Gather a couple of months back about bringing in a librarian, like a librarian. From
Yeah, I remember that question.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, that was me. And I was just kind of wondering if you or no, anyhow, sorry, I'm not really good with names unless it's like very like I'm very kind of consistent. So
it's okay.
I think it's Neil.
Yeah, Gnostic informant, Neil.
Yeah, you or Neil. Is there a follow up on that?
You know, I'm going to be honest, Chris. I didn't even think about it. Since then, you know, there's so much in.
Look, I know you're busy. I know
oh my gosh! If my wife didn't call me today and say, "Hey, you got to take your son to his dentist appointment at 11," and it's 30 minutes before 11, I would have forgot.
Yeah.
And so, the best thing people can do that can help me is if they know a librarian and someone that they know that is on that level. Because I loved what you said. Librarians, oftentimes, if they're really into reading like that, they might have this broad scope of knowledge and awareness that someone who has a specialty may not, but they loved reading all the different fields. So if you could find one, that obviously saves me the nightmare of trying to discover. Maybe a librarian who is well-read is watching this, and then they reach out to me. They can email me and let me know they exist. Then I can interview them. But it's really about making that connection and then finding out what are we going to talk about? You see what I mean?
I'm studying, I'm studying as a library and info technician right now.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't graduated yet, but I know people. I'm not exactly sure if they are willing to go with the quote unquote, what your your vision is.
Right.
On your channel. So I'm like, So I'm not exactly like, I think I know people, but it's just I'm not exactly sure.
They can try. I mean, I could send them a list of academic interviews that I've done. And if they're interested, if they feel like they can bring something to the table, have them do it.
Okay.
I'd love to try at least. I liked your idea. I just don't know any other way to make it happen, without finding the people who do have that specialty.
Probably. Anyway, I'll try to look up on that, maybe.
Okay.
Anyway, just another thing. I don't know. Well, it's more personally to you, but it's more of an encouragement, I guess, in a way. I personally never have been in a close relation sphere of addicts, but I am a son of a pharmacist, and my mother, she basically treated people with methadone, and
right.
it's just
I've been on methadone before. Yeah,
yeah, I know. So it's so it's just something that that.
Did you have a question though?
No,
okay.
Not really. It's just that
you're just saying you have a lot in common. At least you have some overlap.
Like I have some overlap, but it's not like directly to
right.
That it's just I've been like secondhand a little bit, seen junkies, stuff like that.
Well,
just,
that word oftentimes is a pejorative.
Sorry.
No, I don't take any. It doesn't offend me, but that is a pejorative put on people who struggle with the disease of addiction. And this is my 2 cents on it. And then I'm going to let you go, Chris, because I've got another person in the chat waiting. The war on drugs. That war hurts the addict more than it hurts the people who are facilitating the drugs to the people who want it. So there's a lot.
You guys got it worse, since basically I'm living in Canada. So at least you got some services in that regard, but you guys are on your own in the States.
Yeah, and it's very in America with our insurance system is so screwed up. I worked with the rehabs. Now, I am no medical doctor or anything even close. I'm just a human who had experience with addiction, and my motivation drove people to want to get help. But I'm going to tell you, it sucks. It sucks. When I worked for one of the rehabs, they have a certain requirement for insurance, but I probably helped 99.9% of the people who contacted me to try and get in the nice facility, get into a free Medicaid, state covered in these places. Most of the time suck. And they don't really give them the right medical help that they need, the attention they need. Like it's just, it's a screwed up nightmare what we're dealing with right now. And
another connection to me personally is that I don't think you've probably heard this from Jay's channel, but I have cerebral palsy.
Oh wow!
And without the the Canadian healthcare system, with my background, I don't think my family would be above water with all the opportunity and having all the opportunities that I had in life so far. So yeah. Anyway.
Thank you, Chris. We definitely got to change some things in America for real. But thank you for that and coming on and showing love. And I'm pretty sure people will relate to what you said today. So,
yeah. Catch
you have a good one, my friend.
Yep. See ya.
Thank you. Bye. Wow. Yeah, that brings back memories of working in the rehab, and it was so disheartening. The addict themselves is at war with themselves, and the system is already broken. It's so freaking difficult when you have to, very hard, and it's very, very heartbreaking when you engage with it and you see what's going on with people who are like me. I never forgot who I was or where I came from or the struggle that I had. And I think if we can carry that wherever we go, that empathy will go so far. It'll help you get far in life because you can know what it's like to be in other people's shoes. I'm going to be getting to the next caller here in just a second, but I just want to give a shout out. BTM Sparky. Thank you, Darlene. Go Godzilla. I really appreciate you. Sparky also dealt with the same struggles, but she had it even worse than I did. So she has written books about that. And like the timing of her super chat and then Chris bringing that up was just almost like not a coincidence. It's pretty telling because she's gone through the struggles. Oh, wow. Another member of MythVision, Joy Lynn. Thank you, Joy. Really appreciate you becoming a member here. It means a lot to me that the community is growing. And I'm going to constantly try and bring more material for those who are members so that you get early access, just like a Patreon member. Mr. Monster, thank you for the super chat. Why is Gnostic Informant and Godless Engineer in a serious back and forth? What happened? If I even comment on this, it pretty much boils down to what happened with Richard Carrier and M. David Litwa, and both Neil and John go back and forth, and that never ends. And in recent times, I just told John, hey, I would just drop it. But John said, no, there were lies said, and I have to address it. So at the end of the day, like, it will never end until someone is big enough and man enough to just let things that were said go away. But until then, get your popcorn out and enjoy the show because it's just not going to stop. That's as far as I can tell. And I don't want to be in the middle of it anymore, to be honest with you. To be frank, I'm not interested in, well, this person's treating me bad. I get instant messages where I'm having to deal with that. I'm not babysitting anymore and being involved because it's clear that it's going to keep going because both sides obviously are going to be actively doing more videos. And that's it at the end of the day. So Mr. Monster, there you have it. Shannon Q in the house. Hey, taking a break from my DMs full of pro-forced birth nonsense for a moment. Shannon's got her problems too. I can feel her pain. And Apostasy's in the chat too. Derek, thanks for doing streams like this. I really enjoy them. Oh man. Like earlier, Shannon, I was just venting. Melody Joy in the house. I was just venting about various issues and overwhelmed with certain things, and I got to get it off my chest to the community, which really helps me to keep doing what I'm doing. So it's good to be able to go and just unload, and other people understand where you're coming from. Oh, wow. Dr. Tapio Kaweasel, thank you for the super, or no, not a super, becoming a member. Seriously, appreciate you joining. Thank you. Really means a lot to have more people support what we're doing. Okay, Truth Teacher, welcome to MythVision. How are you?
Dude, what's up?
What's up, man?
Okay, I'm gonna be really, really brief, okay?
Okay.
So the thing is, former Catholic, former Pentecostal, former born-again Christian via Deliverance Ministry Nightmare. I don't know if you know what that is.
Oh, I know all about it, yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You're a survivor too?
Look, we were casting out demons, the spirit of masturbation, the spirit of lust, you know how it is. And then like you're laying hands for hours and you're humming and you're speaking in tongues and you're like rolling around and the whole nine, the music's going and the music's not going and you're just in a trance almost. But that's what I think you're saying, right? To some degree.
Well, why is it that Win Worley never got rid of his obesity demons? I'm just saying.
Who?
Win Worley.
I have no clue who that is. No, I don't know who that is.
The whole Deliverance Ministry thing.
There's a video, by the way, out there that you're bringing it back to my attention. Someone documented like hundreds of different teachers that were like faith healer types. Mm-hmm. And all of them that they documented in the video died of a disease or something that was like, I thought you could heal people, but you couldn't heal yourself. Kind of weird how that works when they all it was like hundreds that were listed that died from some type of illness. Now, I'm not making fun of the fact that people die, and that's not my point. The point is, you're saying you have this power. People are giving you money to be healed for something, and then you die. It's pretty ironic.
Dude, there was this one time I went to a seminar. This guy, what was his name? Haggard, I think his name was. And he had the whole like congregation join hands to call death and destruction down on this woman that was supposedly a witch who was in a hospital on life support and had us call down the angels to like pour lead down her throat and dig out her eyes. Gets on the plane to go back home the next day and croaks on the plane.
Is it Ted Haggard? Apostasy asked.
Gosh.
You don't remember?
I don't remember. But I mean, I thought it was just like so funny that he's having the whole church like called, loose the angels to call death and destruction on this woman, gets on the plane and croaks himself.
Wow, that's exactly what I'm saying, right? Like, you're healed of the spirit of cancer. Your cancer is gone. And it's always something. And then they die of cancer. It's pretty much like that.
Yeah. But anyway, I promise to make this short.
Yeah.
So, like deconstructing Christianity and coming out of all of that mindfuck. My question is, Paul, has anybody done a deep dive on like who the hell he really was? I mean, because I can't see that he really was a Jew, because how could you be a Jew and believe what he was saying? I mean, like, was he really a Gentile that was faking the funk? Like, who the hell was he?
So this is an interesting question. I once thought, he had to be a non-Jew, until I realized how Hellenized the world was, and what we think of as a Jew is a bit anachronistic. So what I mean is once you get rabbinic Judaism and they have like a formulated school of how Jews, are teachings, how they act, and all the above. Before the temple's destruction in the Roman world, there were various shades of Jewish practice and Jewish beliefs. In fact, look at Jesus. He's condemning Pharisees and people who wash themselves 17 times before they eat, as if it isn't what goes into the body, but what comes out, right? So they're already, as you see in the Talmud and other places where Jews are arguing with Jews, that's already happening here. So they don't even agree with each other on what is the right thing. But Paul, I still think he was a Jew. I think he had some form of Judaism that he held to, probably not as strict as other forms, but he's already, and I mentioned this recently in a video, he's already in the worldview, prepared for a Messiah to come. So this whole, like, how did he go from being a Jew to a Christian, as if that's some radical, miraculous thing that is impossible for people to have? There was a recent post on Twitter by my friend Matthew Hartke, and he pointed out a study in a book about prisoners and their ideology, and the guards, and how sometimes the guards get persuaded by the people who are subject to them, and they end up changing. So they might be like a radical, let's just say a radical, hardcore conservative, right wing, and then they become very liberal in their ideology, politically speaking, or whatever it might be. That transition, it sounds radical, but it's actually a common thing that happens. And so I just rabbit trailed into his conversion to kind of explain that it doesn't require a miracle for a guy to change his mind and follow a group that already kind of situates itself in Judaism. But I don't buy the idea that he wasn't Jewish, that he was just some imposter pretending to be Jewish. I think he was Jewish. I just think he was very aware of the Greek world. He uses Greek philosophy. He's very aware of Middle Platonism and Stoic thought. He, according to Acts, if we even grant any historicity here, in Acts 17, he's painted as giving kind of a Jewish Greek sermon, kind of a, I'd say a philosophical sermon, where he's saying, look, we live, we move, we have our being because of God. That's actually a quote from Epimenides, while coupling it with a quote from Scripture. So he's kind of mixing the Greek and Jewish world. And I think that that's a big no-no in many eyes within later Jewish thought. So our idea of what a Jew is, or how they should act and believe, is anachronistic, and it's hard to see behind it. And we've done the same problem with the Hebrew Scriptures. Like, we imagine Israel used to worship Yahweh and this is it. No, that was actually this small cult elite, and the majority of them were polytheist. They had many gods. They worshiped several gods. They had several shrines in their homes. They had several shrines in their towns to different gods. They had Asherah. There are all sorts of things. But it was really the elite, minor group of people who had this little cult that we're reading about in our Bibles.
Yeah.
We're reading these,
If you read between the lines and you read, like the Torah, it's kind of there, because I mean, like, why do you keep telling people to stop being polytheist?
Right.
They're not being polytheist.
Right. I knew you were going there. I was like, yeah, that's, you're right. And that's the point. And so when people hear that, they go, oh, for the fundamentalists or people who want to say I'm wrong, well, look, they're condemning it right there. So it's never been wrong. And it's kind of like,
well, they're condemning it because it is there. That's why.
Right. No, I really appreciate you coming in here. Is that the only question you had?
Yeah. And if you'd ever really do like a deep dive on Paul, like to really flesh out, what you were explaining here, because that's been just like eating my brain alive. I'm like, it's just so different. I mean, look, even if you read the Jewish scriptures by themselves, it's like, how do you get from this to that? You know what I mean?
Because, yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
I mean, come on. It's like you got the old law, and it says this is forever. So if it's forever, how can you have something new?
So that's why, like, Christine Hayes, you ever heard of her?
No, I don't think so.
Christine Hayes is worth reading. Paula Fredrickson is worth reading on this subject. In fact, this book right here, Jews and their Roman Rivals, this actually explains, and I'll give you a little bit of what's happening, and I think this is what's going on, and why we're like, hold on, what Paul's saying is very foreign to what we're reading in Scripture, or even later what we see with Jews. So maybe he's not a Jew, even though he says he is. In this book, she goes in to explain the history of Israel. She mainly focuses on Rome toward the end, really zeroes in to show you. But the whole point, to give you in a nutshell, they're under Egypt, according to their narrative, Assyria, Babylon, Medes, Persians, Greece, Rome, right? Like we got like 7 major empires. In every case, the Jews or Israel, because that's anachronistic as well, depending on the time period. They might have been called Hebrews. They might have been called at certain periods. They were always subject to the bigger empire. They were always the subjects, the conquered. So in every case, the influence of ideology, of philosophy, of belief was coming from the conqueror. If it was Egypt, this is why you might see Egyptian influence on the Bible. If it's Babylonian, you're going to see, or Assyria, which is kind of similar. They have a similar Mesopotamian background in mythology. You're going to see that influence on Genesis. You're going to see that influence on the Bible. You get down into the Medes and Persians, you start seeing apocalypticism start to birth itself. You find this also with Ahura Mazda and Zoroastrianism influence on the Jewish thought and also their scriptures. You find this with Greece once Alexander the Great comes in and that Hellenism takes place. You find that impact on the Jews. In every case, the scriptures start changing and the ideas and beliefs of the people start to change. So you get to Rome. And what did Rome do differently? One of the major things Rome did that she highlights in her book, I found it amazing, is they had an interesting way of making people citizens of the nation. Even enemies they were fighting against could be forgiven and become citizens of the Roman Empire. They could become the family of Rome. Even if you were our enemy, Greeks, and I think it was Plutarch, one of the Greek philosophers, said, this is why Rome will always be successful and they will be the everlasting kingdom. Greece failed at doing this because they were the Athenians were very xenophobic and they were not about making citizens of everyone. They wanted their elites to be citizens and that's it. Rome said anyone and everyone can do it. Even Jewish slaves could join the army, spend 25 years in the army, 20 or 25, I think it's 25, and they could be set free and be a citizen. So you could earn your citizenship and become free if you were a slave and joined into the army, or even if you weren't a slave and you joined the military of Rome. So they had a different program. That program played an impact on how Jews saw the world. They had to compete. Rome had this all-inclusion kind of idea about making, and it wasn't universal at all times, depending on the emperor, but they would make citizens. Well, the Jews considered themselves a nation. Now, how does a person become a Jew? It wasn't common for people to just become Jews or to convert. There was a process oftentimes, and the person who wanted to become one couldn't become one all at once. They had to wait till their children their children were born and then they could be Jews, but the parent who converted wasn't. There's a lot of different ideas, and not all Jews thought alike about this. Rabbis argued about it. She shows Rome's program, their political, social, ethic program, played a major impact on how the Jews changed their ideas. The same happens with philosophy. And Paul is the perfect guy to show you a universal broadening of neither Jew nor Greek. Like, come in and you're in the new covenant, right, that he has packaged, which is a very mystical one. And it breaks down those barriers in terms of what your standing is in the cult. The social things still stayed the same. If you were a slave, you remained a slave. Like, people try to use that in an apologetic sense. So this thing goes on and on and on. But if you haven't read this, I encourage anyone who's serious on wanting to see the realities of how it wasn't the divine that impacted this. You could say it was, but the most clear natural explanation is, okay, Rome had this program, and next thing you know, the Jews pick it up and they spin it to make it in their program. The Assyrians, Babylonians, Greeks, Rome, etc. And that's what I'm finding. I see that over and over in all the religions. I see that in Islam. This MythVision, brother. That's what I do.
Wow. Oh man,
the long rant.
I had to walk away from Christianity. I'm currently, I'm not. I would say that I'm an atheist that believes in a higher power. I definitely don't believe in the God of the Bible, but I do believe that, I don't know, I just think life itself is miraculous. I don't need bells and whistles. I do follow a traditional African tradition, you know, like we call it, it comes out of Cuba, we call it lukumi. But I can deal with that because it makes more sense to me, and we don't have to, you know, it's just so out of the ballpark from the Abrahamic religions. We have, I guess, what you would call scriptures, but the way they function is so much different than
Yeah.
the Abrahamic.
You mean they're not forcing you at like you're gonna go to
we don't-
hell or at gunpoint or
There's
at
no
night?
hell. We don't have to go out and spread the word.
Right.
And we don't have to believe that our stories were literal history. There's no dogma. You know,
Wow.
it's like the way they function, it doesn't require you to believe that this is actual history, because I guess it's closer to the I Ching. You know, I mean,
It's a
there are
philosophy kind of, sort of.
it's a philosophy
Which is
kind
cool.
of thing. There's a mystical side to it, but it's completely different. And it's like, hey, you look, you believe it or you don't. If you don't,
Right.
if it works for you, great. And if it doesn't, then hey, keep it moving, you know? So
Hey, much respect for that. And while I have my conclusions, I don't knock it. And in fact, people might go, why don't you pick that apart? It's like, I have no threat. If there was, you know what I mean? Like there's no threat there. So I have no issue. My wife's the same way, by the way, Queen of MythVision. She thinks there's something. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but she thinks there's something. And I don't knock her. She's always been the level-headed one. I've always been the nutter who's just extreme. And
the way I look at it is it's either one or two things are going to happen when we die. Either we're going to find out that there's more to the story, or we're not. You know? In either case, what's to worry about? You know, it's like you got to deal with the here and now. I mean, no matter what you think, whether you believe that there's a higher power or you believe that this is it, you know, this is showtime. At the end of the day, you have to make the most of what you have now in this life. You know, like what's going to happen after we're going? Do we keep on going? Do we come back? No, you know, you cross that bridge when you get to it. Like I said, you're going to find out that there's more. And if there isn't more, you're not going to be upset because you're not going to exist. You know, so what's to worry about?
Unless we get there and then we find out that I'm just kidding. Thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate you coming on. This was a heck of a conversation. I really hope that you keep doing what you're doing. Are you on YouTube or are you just watching?
I have a neglected channel that, you know, I'm getting my life together. So I do plan on putting up more content and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's like, it's actually, I had a friend of mine. He's also follows a traditional African, you know, practice. It's different than mine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, he does follow it also. I mean, that's the other thing. It's like we can follow different traditions, you know, because there's no concept that this one is the right one and the only one. So there's many different African traditions that survived, you know, the transplant through slavery, and it's not uncommon to find people belonging to a whole bunch of them at the same time. But you know, we talk about, you know, deconstructing Christianity because it just doesn't make sense. And he's the one that actually turned me on to your channel, you know.
Really?
Yeah. So I've been like
good taste.
watching different things, and it's really cool. I really enjoy it. I do like watching Rabbi Tobia's stuff too, like deconstructing Christianity. But I'm not a Jew. I mean, I am of Jewish descent, but the Abrahamics just it just doesn't.
I hear you. Trust me, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And Rabbi is my friend, and he knows that I don't agree with him, and he doesn't agree with me, but like we get along great. Well, I'm gonna wrap up. Yeah. Have a final word real quick here, and then I'm gonna address some of these super chats real quick before I go. So, final word from you.
At the end of the day, it ain't that serious, folks. You know, live the best life that you can live. now, because the only thing that you know for sure, is you're alive and you're here now. Make the best of it. Make the best of your life that you have, and just keep it pushing.
No better words said tonight. That was amazing. Thank you so much, my friend. I hope I hear from you in the future.
Hey, absolutely.
Well, you have a wonderful evening.
You too, man. Take it easy.
Peace.
Peace.
That was awesome. You can't tell me that wasn't good. I mean, that was really, really down to earth. Much respect to him for coming on and sharing some of that wisdom, because I agree with him. I 100% agree with him. Even if I don't necessarily draw that, like, those are wise words. So I hope that everybody watching got inspired by those words, and we can live in the now, and we can worry about what we can do here and what we see and experience and the hurting people that need help now, right? Erica E., thank you for becoming a member of the channel. Wow, like, I think there was 3 members who popped in today. Wow, thank you so much. Is Shannon Q still in the chat? I'm curious to know where Shannon's at. If she's in the chat, everybody get her attention here. Mr. Monster, was Jesus also waiting for the Messiah to return? I don't think return, no. And I don't even think, this is the interesting thing here, Mr. Monster, as I talk to like other scholars, James Tabor, etc. Jesus wasn't supposed to go away and then return. That wasn't supposed to be the plan. When the Messiah comes, he comes, and then that's it, according to their teaching. So this idea that he's going to come and then something's got to happen for him to have to come back again, no, that's not something that seemed to be a part of the plan. And that would be my answer, but I'd love to get someone like Dr. Tabor or others to come and actually explain that further. And then Joy's back again. Let me see. Where did Joy go? Here's Joy. Joy Lynn, been watching your podcast for a couple months, and I just want to say thank you. This is all new to me. Wow. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I get real sentimental when these come up, because it's like, I know that these are real people who are really going through life, and that the podcast is really making a change, and it's helping people. And there's other people out there too, Joy, if you don't know about it. In fact, I was just harassing Shannon Q. Shannon's got a channel. Her boyfriend's got a channel, Apologia, and he's engaging directly with a lot of the apologists out there. And so there's a huge community of people, very kind too. They're not just antagonistic or being rude. Like, there's good information that can help you process this, because it's not an overnight thing. And there's so much to learn and enjoy. But I really appreciate those words. These are the kind of words that keep me going and motivate me. And when I'm down and out and I see it, it's like, all right, yes, good reminder of what you're doing, Derek, is good. Hold on, here we go. Shannon, are you still here, Shannon? Oh, we got Mr. Monster again. I meant to say Messiah come, not Messiah return. I would think, but then again, it's hard to know if Jesus thought he was the Messiah, right? Hard to know what Jesus thought about himself. Is she here? Did she distract herself going somewhere else? Okay, BG, I love this. MythVision was the first atheist channel I found have deconverting. Learning I wasn't alone was invaluable. Wow. I love that. Root Beer Kid, appreciate you, Derek. Keep putting that work. Man, that's amazing. Absolutely. Look at the love in the community. It means a lot to me. And again, thank you for that, Mr. Monster, and being a member this whole time too. Shannon might have dipped. I was gonna try and like put her on the spot and have her come and join me for a second, just to say hey. I was in the mood to having people, jump in here. Vax says, all you MythVision centers need to plant a prosperity gospel super chat seed to help Derek's wool lumberjack flannel fund. I actually love this jacket. I wish I had other colors of it. I really do. It helps to heal from the trauma. Thanks. Keep up the good work. Truth Teacher was the one who was on the stream earlier. Thank you, Truth Teacher. And you spat some truth. That's for sure, my friend. Series, Derek, a great connection for you and I. My dad was a badass Army lieutenant. Well, there's something in common, right? My dad, retired Green Beret, Master Sergeant in the Special Forces. So Army, just like your dad. Birds of a feather flock together. Thank you. Apostasy. I've never seen a stream with an invite. So cool. Where are you wanting to pop on? Mr. Monster says, yeah, this channel is one of the best, hands down, no doubt about it. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Michael Buckmaster, what was your question? I'm here at the end. I think I got through everybody. I just don't want to miss anybody's super chat. Anubis Fire, I would join sometime to talk about Taoism and my journey from Christianity to pantheist monotheism, anarchist Taoism. Wow. That's a journey. But I imagine your philosophy now is free, like you have a freedom and you probably don't have any, what's the best way? Negative baggage? You don't have this bad perception or some expectation of do's and don'ts or else kind of thing. I don't know. I'd be interested. Apostasy totally rejected me and said, I don't like you and I want nothing to do with you forevermore. Amen. Look at what she said. That's exact verbatim what she's saying right here. I don't want to come on your channel. I will never come on it. Not even tonight. The computer hates you, Derek. That's what it says. Jeez. What do you do when people feel that way toward you? You know what I mean? You can't. I don't know how to fix that. Someone help me. Someone help me. Not sure what to do about it. Look, see, everyone notices the true context. I get it. I see the true context. You can't trick me here. I know what I'm doing. But Anubis, I'd be happy to hear from you at some point about your journey, because at the end of the day, I guarantee you the freedom is it's completely different kind of philosophy than what we're finding scripturally, right? And the kind of cults that we come from. See, I knew it. You said, sure. Amen. It's the same thing. You pretty much just said that's exactly what I said. I knew it. And look, see, people are now attacking apostasy. This is what you get. This is Lael, forgive me. Thank you for the super chat. Is there a problem with recontextualizing scripture in the worldview that you are living in so that the people that is following that point of view can understand? I don't think that there's a problem with recontextualizing scripture at all, especially if it's matching your ethics of the day, like trying to push things forward. Go for it. I think that's in some sense what the New Testament's doing in a way. And in fact, rabbis did this in their own writings, which though I haven't exhausted anything close to the rabbinic literature, they saw some ugly things in scripture and they recontextualized it so that it matched their ethics, their morals, their society at the time. And I wish more Christians did that with the literature, because I think some already are doing that. No, slavery didn't mean what you think it means. It meant this. Okay. I guess that gets away from the ugliness of it. But in some cases, there's some literal fundamentalists out there who take stuff literally and go all the way. And it does impact our modern world, which is why I do what I do. Look, Ryan is actually going after Stacy. See what happens, Stacy? See what happens when you come in here and you do that? You can't say those things that you said and walk away and think it's just, you're going to get away with it scot-free. I mean, well, Derek will be on our show next week. That's true. That is true. Can you, hold on. Let me make sure. I got to update this. So much chat that when I go back to the actual YouTube video that has it, all right, it's supposed to be on mute. All right, I need to make this. All right. Fixing something here. I keep my enemies closer. You know what I mean? There we go. So there's like 278 of you right now. And I'm going to tell you straight up. I'm going to tell you something that you stuck this long, so you deserve to hear this. You see how I'm able to talk on camera and I'm good on a webcam and all that. Here's a real secret. This is a real secret of me in my life. And I mean this. I did public speaking when I was at a Christian fundamentalist college. If I were standing in front of you, 278 people, 279 now, I would probably almost pass out. Because it's something about a crowd and doing it in public that terrifies me. In a public, I'm going to make a mistake, whatever. Like, I would probably feel like I'm going to pass out. I'm not going to say I would pass out, but I feel like I'm having an outer body experience. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I haven't publicly spoken in a formal setting in front of that many people that often. But the times I have, like, I seriously thought I'm about to faint and collapse right in front of just like onto the ground because I was so nervous and just not used to that kind of setting. So there's my little secret. Truth or dare, your turn. Oh, here we go. Here we go. The person who said earlier that I didn't answer questions except for super chats, which is, obviously people who do that. How do I call in? That link is long gone, and we're late into this stream now, and I'm not trying to bring in any more callers, my friend, but we can do this again in the future, and I'd be more than happy to take your call. Al Pastor with Brian Overturf. Derek, I love your channel. I am a Christian pastor. I am huge ANET nerd. Love Tovia Singer and Heiser. I don't agree with the majority of what you say, but your guests are appreciated. You are eyewitnesses here. I mean, I can't compete with the 500 claim that Paul says, but there's 281 people. You're eyewitness that there's value to the channel and what we're bringing, even if they disagree. This is a mature, really mature comment, and it helps me. Your super chat helps me to better my communication and conversation with Christians. It really makes me feel like, all right, cool. It's not just us versus them mentality, right? Like, we've got to have that dialogue. That is awesome to see you come in here and drop that comment, the super chat. Means a lot. And I really do appreciate the love. And Heiser was great. I disagreed with Heiser. He was awesome in many ways. He thought the world, I think, is just the ancient mythos and legend and storytelling, and then superstition to some degree about demons in the wilderness and Azazel and you name it, his book on demons. He really believed those things. Whereas I'm like, they really believed those things, and I want to get what they thought about the world, even though I don't. So I liked Heiser for many reasons, even if I disagreed with him. I like Tovia Singer for many reasons, even if I disagree with him, especially on the Hebrew Bible stuff, right? So, Al, thank you so much for that, and I appreciate you in the chat. It's less personal on YouTube. I think you probably feel the same way. Web surfing, Mr. Derek, I hope to get an answer to a question that I'll be asking in the comment section when this vid ends. I'll try to make the time to read it and respond. Props to you, Al. Thank you so much, JR, for that. That's cool. Apostasy in the hizzy. Pragmatic Crystal. Pragmatic's always in the hizzy. I call it the hizzy. Really appreciate that. And Michael Buckmaster, if you don't get your question answered, check out James Tabor about John the Baptist. Where was it? Did I miss it? Michael Buckmaster. Okay, hold up. I think we found. Here it is. Why did Jesus deny who he was and tell the Romans John the Baptist was the greatest man born of a woman? Why did Jesus deny who he was and tell the Romans John the Baptist was the greatest man born of a woman? Well, James Tabor, and I'm glad that you saw Melody Joy actually mention that, James Tabor will say that John the Baptist was Jesus' kind of forerunner. He was actually his teacher. He was someone above him. And that he says, of women born, there is none greater than John. So that is kind of a tip in the hat off saying he's better than me. And that's the way James Tabor reads it. It's a humble salute to the guy you think is better than you. But why does he not tell of who he is? That is another question. If you take it literal and you think it's actual historical, well, he doesn't want them killing him because he'd be competing with the Roman world or with the Jews that are in that arena. It's like being a blood on crypt turf or vice versa or whatever. You're going to get killed. But for me, I find the secret Messiah motif to be a literary one, and I don't think it's literal historical. I think that he wants to hide. The author of Mark is trying to let you, the reader, know, hey, this is the Messiah. But no one else gets it except you, the reader. And of course, the Father in heaven who keeps revealing it to you. But everyone in the story doesn't get it. So I think it's more of a story rather than actually what happened. Michael, I'm glad I answered your question. I truly don't mean to, I really don't mean to ignore or avoid. It is lots of messages come through, and I do favor those who help support the channel through Super Chat. So you got to do what you got to do to try and keep things going. Professing preterist. So you are a professing preterist. Thank you for the comment or question. How did you fall out of preterism? Ooh, I should do a show discussing what led me out of full preterism. It was first partial preterism, became a full preterist. Don K. Preston actually went up to Blue Point Bible Church, to Michael Miano's church, gave like 2 lectures. One was my testimony and one was another one showing why I believed that the New Testament was the end. And really accepted everything happened. The resurrection, the second coming, the trumpets blew, the whole 9. I thought Revelation was talking about Jerusalem, not Rome. I thought that the futurists were dead wrong. Even though I think they're wrong, I think they're actually right about some things now. And you're like, well, what do you mean? Meaning what was expected didn't happen. That's what I mean. So I started studying New Testament academics, critical scholars, not Bible-believing ones, but critical academics that are diving into this. And ultimately what I found is that Paul was not expecting some esoteric, just mystical kingdom where there's no actual like things going to happen. Like full preterists, the only thing they take literal is that the destruction, the judgment. Resurrection isn't literal, but judgment is. Quite interesting. Judgment is supposed to be what happened in 70 AD. Final judgment, final resurrection. Nah, we don't see that. But you can go to Ed Stevens and find him take a literal approach. And that supposedly the church that went out to the mountains that Jesus said, go to the mountains, flee to the mountains when you see these things in Mark, Matthew, and Luke, the synoptic gospels, those got raptured and taken literally into heaven. So he takes that and he does his own thing with it. And there's always disagreements among them. But I started finding out, holy smokes, yeah, the preterists are right about the timing and when these things were supposed to happen. But what was supposed to happen, preterists do have to make the words mean metaphorical, esoteric, allegorical. Yet the Jerusalem destruction of the final judgment, that's not allegorical or esoteric. And you would imagine resurrection would be something. No, nothing happened. Only the eyes of faith could see resurrection. There were so many things I started realizing. Then I started investigating contemporary Jewish writings around the New Testament and found out, holy smokes, Jews were expecting a literal, actual apocalyptic end to occur. And John J. Collins, Paula Frederickson, there's several other academics that I would recommend that dive into Jewish Second Temple literature and the New Testament writings. I think the book of Revelation is talking about predominantly Rome now, whereas I do think Revelation 11 is talking about Jerusalem. So when it talks about the city where your Lord was crucified, which is called Sodom, that is Jerusalem. But I do not think Revelation 17 and 18, the city on the seven hills, is Jerusalem at all. I know that Margaret Barker takes that approach. And of course, people who've written on Revelation take that approach, like Gary DeMar, Kenneth Gentry, etc. But those are partial preterists. They also want to say it was written before 70 AD. I don't know if this book is a rolling text, meaning it started then and it kept being written on, or if it really was just written in 96 AD. Don't know, don't care. Definitely think it's talking about Rome predominantly, though. There's some of my stuff. There's so much more that I could say about it. But ultimately, it led me to realize that what we're trying to do as full preterist is we're trying to save the failed end. We're wanting to make sure it didn't fail. And we see this actually happening within the New Testament. The kingdom of God that is coming is actually supposed to be a real kingdom. And Jews expected that God would come down ruling with his kingdom and destroy the enemy. This is stuff that they knew. The Gospel of Luke has that kingdom become in you and among you. You are. This is a spiritual kingdom. So they start to spiritualize what didn't happen. And then you find in the Gospel of Thomas, which is outside of our canon, when will the resurrection happen? When will the repose of the dead take place? They asked Jesus, the apostles. Sounds almost like what we see in Matthew 24 or Mark 13, Luke 21. And he says, look around you. You can't see it, but it's already happened. Wow. Now that's a Gnostic text, what we call Gnostic, but that category is not the best category. They're saying the resurrection already happened in the Gospel of Thomas. And I've asked Don K. Preston and others, like through chat online, why don't y'all just admit that you're Gnostics? Why don't you just admit that you think that it's all spiritual and that it isn't actually physical? Because this is actually what the Gnostics started doing. And the failed end becomes spiritual. Just like the Millerite movement and other apocalyptic sects that were wrong, it never ends the movement. It has to change. So they change the meaning. Cognitive dissonance sets in. It makes it something other than what it was. Now, if I told you that God's kingdom actually came down to the lower heavens above the clouds, but outside of our stratosphere or something, and you go, no, it didn't. Yeah, it did. Prove me wrong. Prove it didn't. Well, I couldn't. It's unfalsifiable. This is what happens with the apocalyptic movements, and it never ends. So they keep on going, and they reinterpret words to make them mean things. And there's endless discussion on what that is. So the academics I would talk to or read John J. Collins. He deals with this extensively. Paula Fredrickson on New Testament stuff. What I find preterists do is they go to like your Don K. Preston, Ed Stevens, N.T. Wright, people like that want to make it fulfilled and not treat it like other literature that isn't Bible. So that's what I find. There's my long answer. Lost fan, since you don't say it as often as you used to, would you just once say with a lot of passion, we are MythVision? I don't say it as often. You're right. I need to be brought back to my fundamentals. But I really do appreciate the reminder. Sometimes I forget who we are. I'm going to get off of here. I'm going to go. I guarantee you dinner's been done because the wife tried to call me and she's probably like, screw you, dude. You're not going to get warm dinner now. I love y'all. I really do. I really appreciate you all in the chat for the love and the likes and the comments and the sharing and starting your own stuff to help give your own message, because your story counts. And there's someone out there who I guarantee you will hear it and connect to that. And it just keeps growing. Not everybody's doing it as a business and actually doing it full time. If you have the time, I promise you it's therapeutic. So if you do this, it feels good to get messages. Just forewarning though, there's going to be trolls and hate and things like that. So you got to have enough to say, that doesn't bother me. Screw you. Delete them if you have to. Delete the comments. But I hope that people will do that. Hold on. If you could pick any religion to be true, what would it be? I would pick a religion that allowed all religions to be true, but I would definitely say they got some things wrong. Maybe kind of like Baha'ism in a way. All religions are true. Everybody's part of the plan, but Let's scratch out the fundamentalism of the religions of heaven and hell. And if you don't do this, you're going to go there, or reincarnation of hells, things like that. Get rid of those things. Make a happy, pretty picture. That would be cool. Something that's more practical and positive, making everyone treated equal. No hierarchical structure, almost sounding like a hippie now. But that's what I would imagine a really good religion to be, so that everyone feels like they are special and not, underneath, subordinate, or condemned if they aren't even part of that. That would be something. And that sounds like maybe you know a religion like it. Not sure. All right. I got another call from my brother-in-law. Weird. My super chat got refunded and didn't go through. What was your question? And then I'll end on that. Please make it quick, because I'm hungry and I'm going to run upstairs and eat. You're welcome, Luke. I hope that answers. I mean, religions are just kind of systematic ways in which people process the world. I mean, the way that their worldview is. It's a philosophy. Oftentimes it can be coupled in with various other things, but it's really like a common structured belief that people have. And it doesn't necessarily have to be gods. You can find what looks religious in politics. There's a lot of ways in which that can work. So I'm drinking Bud Light with the Dalai Lama, Vac said. I heard about the Bud Light stuff and Dalai Lama. Listen, if the Dalai Lama, $20 is $20, Vac, okay? $20 is $20. Sean So, thank you for the super chat. I am from Singapore and used to go to New Creation Church, pastored by Joseph Prince. I've seen him on TV before. Thanks to your channel that I see some light about the truth beyond Christianity. Keep your work going. Thank you. Wow. That guy was a charismatic. He could talk the panties off of a nun. I've seen him on church, like giving sermons. So thank you so much for that super chat. Sorry, that's an old saying. It's like saying selling salt to a slug. Meaning that guy had a gift of tongue. He knows how to work his words. All right, just making sure I didn't miss you though. I'm still waiting for that one from Jarakasha. Did Jarakasha write it yet? There it is. Okay. Last one and I'm out. I got to go. Okay. I got to go. Jarakasha, thank you. MythVision, just wanting to say, I still believe in God and Christ, but your channel helped me leave fundamentalism and toxic evangelicalism. Love you and your work ethic. What better way to end a stream, right? I seriously appreciate that love. I got a date with the Dalai Lama and a gallon of Bud Light I need to get to. Seriously appreciate you all. I can't tell you, you make me happy. You make me happy. You ever seen Tropic Thunder? If you haven't, you're living under a rock. You really should go check out that movie. It's quite an interesting, funny movie. Guitar Dog. There I am, dyslexia. Thank you so much. Can you be Christian without being fundamentalist? Yes, you can. Yay. Thank you. See the love. Even the people who may not be Christian are showing the love in the chat. I love that. We never want the stream to end. Thanks, Derek. Thanks, community. Greg Locke is a piece of work. That's so true. He probably secretly drinks Bud Light, though. Just saying. Don't know. I had to use it. JRR, thank you so much for being there in the chat and helping out with the comments. My wife and I will read you when you do that. And I'm like, somebody is helping me. Thank you so much. Means a lot. Good night. Get out of here. I am. Trust me, Josiah, I am. Melody, we gotta connect, Melody. Daniel, perfect ending. Good night, all. Never go full. Yep, that's the movie. Ain't never coming back from that. Bye, lovelies. Yep, dang, I just made the end. Enjoy your Dalai Lama date, Derek. I will. Trust me. I will. Love y'all. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to play my little outro, my MythVision Matrix outro. And never forget, we are MythVision.
Son, do you want to know what the truth is? After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill and you wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill and you stay in Wonderland, and I show you just how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.